This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's VOCM Open Line host Paddy Daly.
Good morning and welcome to Open Line. Brian Callahan in for Paddy today. It's a Monday, 29th day of September in the year of our Lord 2025, as we used to say. The day before the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation tomorrow, September 30th, of course, and 10 years since the release of the Commission report and its 94 calls to action. We can most certainly get into any of that topic today, of course, in advance of tomorrow's holiday, if you will. Call it a holiday, but really, it is what it is, a time to really reflect on those who came before us. But boy, oh boy, how about them Jays? And we can get into all aspects of the Blue Jays playoff run, if you like, which doesn't start until next Saturday, by the way. That's the perk of winning the division. You get the bye past the wildcard round, best of three affair. That has not served the Jays well in recent playoff appearances. So dodge that bullet, a lot of fans would say. And, you know, the bye can be a perk or an advantage, although after a 13-run output yesterday and after a pretty iffy offensive outage, over the past week or two even, where you wondered if the bats would ever come around again, you almost want to get right back at it after knocking off 13 yesterday, catch that lightning in a bottle, and hope the rust of a few days, 6 days really, doesn't catch up to you on Saturday, because you're going to face a hot team, no question about that, coming off the series win with likely some momentum, which is everything in the postseason, of course, especially in baseball. Another great part of the Jays taking the division means the Red Sox and the Yanks tomorrow night. Can't wait for that. So it won't be too hard to wait until the Jays, because that series will keep you on the edge of your seat. And as great an accomplishment as it was to win the American League East for the Jays, arguably the toughest division in baseball, the Jays, they still have some pretty big issues facing them. And the biggest among them, of course, Vlad Jr. He just seems lost. He's going to connect sooner or later, of course. You know, you have done so many at-bats, you'll get a big hit like the two-run single he had on Saturday. But that's not what was used to be feared if he was on the on-deck circle. It was the big blast. But that's been kind of missing. Hasn't had a dinger in a month, I think, now. One extra base hit in the last few weeks. Got to hope he can find it again. And then, of course, Bo Bichette. Best hitter in baseball for my money for the last half season by stats alone. He's just money with men on base, and that's when you really need it. That's when it really counts in the playoffs. But still no timeline on his return, although I did see him jog out and celebrate with all the other players yesterday when they clinched. But boy, good to see my boy Kirky picking up the slack, coming around just in time. Big old grand slam yesterday. Could hear that roar from coast to coast. So, you know, you want to get into the Jays today. I am clearly all over that. And then there's the National Women's Rugby Team, which did more than do our country proud in the final of the World Cup. Okay, Monday morning. Final of the World Cup in England against the English. They fell 33-13, but a valiant effort if there ever was one. And noticed more than a few people from this province over in the stands for that one, as well as the PM, Mark Carney, while he was doing some business, but good to see him show up for the colours in the stands. Let's see what else we got on the go. The Newfoundland Regiment dropped a couple of hard-fought ones. Highly entertaining games, I'll tell you. The speed and the action is fantastic. You can't beat it at the major junior A level. But highly entertaining games at the Mary Brown Centre over the weekend. Lost couple to the Charlottetown Islanders. If nothing else, these are going to be great rivalries. Wait till Halifax comes to town, because the crowd's into it. And a little starving maybe, but still the momentum from opening night is continuing, and it's great to see all the seats filling down at the Mary Browns. And they're back home again in their barracks next week against the Bay Como Drakkar. I used to wear Drakkar. It was a pretty good cologne. Not anymore, though. That was a long time ago. Tried my best to catch some of the Ryder Cup over the weekend, that historic golf battle between the best of Europe and the best of U.S. players. So this was held at the dreaded Bethpage Black Course in New York, and the only story bigger than the European win, probably, and the near U.S. comeback, and gave it a good run yesterday, was just the fans. They are unrelenting, especially, you know, getting on the European players. I mean, they knew there was going to be it would be a raucous affair, if you will, but especially Rory McIlroy. Some of them, the announcers some were really on the line of personal and profane. And I heard one, he was about to tee off on one hole and someone yelled, "Freedom," right out of Braveheart. And he had to step away, and it was unrelenting. But they pulled it out. They showed the Americans who was boss on their own soil, and that was a tough one for the Americans to swallow. But I'm sure they'll be back big time next time. And one other sports note I wanted to just mention, saw this over the weekend. News that the legendary enforcer, I'll call him legendary enforcer, 16-year NHL veteran Donald Brashear is going to lace him up for the Corner Brook Royals. You may recall the ugly incident way back in 2000 with Marty McSorley, but Brashear is a bruiser. And I'm told probably just a couple of weekends maybe, and also told no one's going to fight him or go into the corners. We'll see. But if nothing else, the ticket should be, that should be a nice ticket, a hard ticket. And he's a hard ticket. But a good ticket to get. And I could talk sports all day, of course, but there are a few other things going on in the world today, and lots of things on your mind. I know we got some callers lined up all the way. I'm just going to throw a couple of more out there, and you know what's coming. Not the least of which are the municipal elections this coming Thursday, and of course the provincial election on the 14th. So to say there's some meat on those bones to choose, gross understatement. For example, Canada Post. We may have to just rethink the whole concept of mail-in ballots here, given the way this is going. Thoughts, any thoughts you have on that? People who are affected by it. We had Rudy Norman, the mayor of Burlington, on Friday when I was hosting Tim Power's show, and he gave a real insight into, just how much rural Newfoundland does depend. And rural parts of Canada, not just Newfoundland. And where it's all going, we don't know. It's a real tussle, and the union is the Canada Post Union, but you got to give them as we would say in the newsroom, some cahoots, because they're not going away, and good on them. And we've got to find some kind of solution here. Home delivery, it is what it is, but there are people who rely on it, and there are more than enough delivery services out there that can probably make up the slack. But when you think about elections and other things that people use home delivery for, and especially, we can even talk about the candidates who spend a lot of money on flyers and they won't get or may not get delivered. Someone mentioned me the other day, they're trying to return their Rogers equipment, and if they don't get it back in 30 days, they'll either get docked for it and reimbursed later. Yeah, maybe next year. But in any event, if you're trying to return stuff like that, that can be an issue as well. Let's see, what else you want to get into? And of course, today, the U.S. President Donald Trump will meet with Israeli PM Netanyahu today to see if they can find any kind of common ground. We know the pressure is on. The Arab states are getting on. For Netanyahu to blanketly say there's no two-state solution, and you can see them lining up on the other side of there has to be, and we have to find a way. And sooner or later, if the Americans pull all that support that they've always traditionally had for Israel, they're going to have to probably rein some of that in and yield to what some of the countries, the UAE, the Saudis, Qataris, everyone in the area in the Middle East who want to see some resolution to this. This is, call it what you want, but we can talk about this today. That's going to be a big meeting. They're going to have to try to find some common ground because this cannot go on any longer. What's happening over there is absolutely just devastating. And let's see, obviously we can get into all of that. And I also I just want to mention, too, the question of the day today, because this affected me once deeply, and I'm sure it's affecting other people. But, we've had lots of great conversations lately about vet bills. We love our animals, and vets know that. And, I'm not suggesting anyone preys on anything, but the bills are just going through the roof. And you can pontificate on all the reasons for that, whether it's large multinationals taking over it, seeing an opportunity, investors seeing where the money's at. But, there's also people who doubt some diagnosis they get, sometimes I've had many a person ask me about cash grabs at the vet, but that's it. We can talk vets. They all have great hearts, and there's big business involved with it too. So it's a conflict, whether you like it or not. Dave, how we doing? A few calls on the phones. Let's take a quick break. Let's get right to the callers today, boys and girls, because you're not here to listen to me. You're here to listen to you. Dave, right after the break, Brian Callahan in for Patty. Welcome back to the program. Let's get right at it. Line number 5 caller, you're on the air.
this is a senior citizen from the West Coast.
Yes, sir. West Coast, where? Corner Brook?
Corner Brook.
Good guess.
With the election on the go now, and the three leaders out there, promises. I think someone should take them to task on the oil rebate.
Sure.
Yeah,
about in what way?
They're issuing us who are eligible $500
right.
for oil, and then they're taking $75 tax back from it.
So
Did anybody ever realize that, I wonder?
It's the first I have. I don't avail of it. I have electric heat, of course. I got the baseboards. So my first-hand knowledge of it is, I'm aware of it as far as a reporter goes, that the supplement is in place, I think, is $150,000 or less, I think, is the cutoff.
Which I do qualify for, and I've gotten it for X number of years.
Yep.
But they're still taking back tax on it.
So what are you getting? Are you getting 500, is it, or...
They issue us a $500 check, yes. And you go to work and order oil, and you look at your receipt, and it's 15%.
Right, so they're taking the tax off that. So you're not really getting full $500. That's
no, you're not.
Pretty much
That's
the
right.
case. That's pretty much the case with any kind of government, unfortunately, because once it goes into your income, even, they'll add that up, and you cross over a barrier for income tax, and you're going to be into the next bracket too. So you're saying out of the $500, you get what?
$425 worth of oil if your tank can hold it.
420. So you're losing 75 on every 5.
Yeah.
Is that the question you want posed?
That's the question I want posed, and I think someone should have brought to light a long time ago.
Yeah, I know there are rebates as well.
Give us $500 and let us get $500 worth of oil.
Yeah,
not $425.
And the promises are there to take off the HST portion off the heat, off the electricity bills. So maybe that's a way of evening things out.
Yeah, well, let's see.
You want to call it evening out?
When it comes to it.
Yeah, evening out. That's pipe dream. Fair point. It's the first I've actually heard of that myself. Now, I don't host the show all the time, and unfortunately, I'm a little isolated from those sorts of things. And I don't avail of it myself. But it's a fair comment. I'm not sure if we'll get anyone else to weigh in on it.
Maybe, but as long as I can get it out there.
Yep.
There's a lot of people listening to your program.
Absolutely. This is the venue for it. So we throw that there, and we'll see if we can either get a politician or other people in the same boat to bite.
Yes, and in fact, I'm going to phone, what's his name, Jim Parsons today.
Right, now Jim is running for... Yep.
Yeah, and tell him the same thing I'm telling you.
So he's a candidate out there, and he's going up against former Mayor Pender, isn't he?
Yes.
That should be a good fun. Everybody watching that one.
Mayors. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a great race. Well, again, it's a good time to put it to them with a few days to go. Lots, as you said, promises. If they can promise everything else, why not promise that?
Well, give us the $500. If it's $500, let's get $500 worth of oil, not $425.
Yeah, because
that's my beef.
No, and that's a fair beef, and just as easily, the price of oil could change tomorrow, and you're still paying another $75 on top of that. So.
Yes, there's only so much money coming through the door,
Fair enough. Anything else you wanted to say on that?
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, great point. Let's see if we can get someone else to jump on it.
Right on, I'll be listening.
Great. Thanks for the call.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
All right, Dave, where am I going? Line 2? Line 2. All right, let's go to line 2. And David, let's go all the way up to Cape Shore. David, you're on the air.
Well, good morning, and how are you now?
Goodbye for a Monday, and yourself.
Very good, very good. I'm still vertical, no bullet holes, I am not actually on the Cape Shore.
Oh, you're not? I thought you were in St. Bride's. You're not in St. Bride's?
I am calling you about water quality in St. Bride's. I'm a first-time caller to your program, a long-time listener.
Okay.
I was listening to your program on Thursday morning, but coincidentally, I was headed down to Cape Shore. And I hear Mr. Ralph, and he's raking down the St. Bride's Council, the mayor, the management, and whatever. His comments were generally unfounded, and I'd like to shed some light on what I would perceive as some misinformation and inaccuracies in Saddle Council with the blame and responsibility for the poor water quality in St. Bride's.
Well, you fill your boots. The only thing I would just preface is the fact that of course, I wasn't hosting last week, so I don't know everything that was said before you. But by all means, go ahead and give your just two sides, actually more than two sides every story, but fire away.
Absolutely. There's no doubt that the water quality in St. Bride's is less than desirable. It is discoloured, with the water in the South Reservoir being of a poorer quality than that in the North Reservoir. There are, in fact, two reservoirs in the community. The South Reservoir, which has a little bit better quality, is at an elevation too low to provide gravity service to all of the community without pumping to the upper levels. Initial capital costs for the installation of a booster pump, say conservatively at $100,000 plus, you would have operation and maintenance costs annually. And if there's a power outage, well, you're out of water in those upper levels, unless you've got some kind of a standby diesel generator as a backup, probably complete with an automatic transfer switch. So you're talking probably another $100,000 plus operation and maintenance costs annually. Keep in mind, like many rural communities now in Newfoundland, St. Bride's has a declining population and limited resources. The existing South Reservoir, which was the one the gentleman was referencing, is grown over in alders and is not cleaned out, poorly maintained. All that's true. But that's not necessarily the fault of the council. As several years ago, Municipal Affairs, or whatever the department is called this week, appointed a consultant to execute a contract to upgrade the reservoir, which would have been complete with the clearing and grubbing of the immediate dam valley area. There was to be a new geotextile fabric, rip-wrap cobblestone protection, new concrete spillway, a screen house eventually, upgrade the existing road in there, an electrical transmission line to bring power into what would eventually be a chlorination treatment building, and to clean out the reservoir. Now, 2 or 3 years after the fact, it's questionable if the design of that phase one is even completed. Maybe a year and a half ago, phase two was called for engineering proposals, but it couldn't be completed because the scope of phase one wasn't clarified and wasn't even complete in design. So if eventually a screen house and the chlorine treatment building was installed and the reservoir upgrade is cleaned out, the water colour would improve marginally. Mr. Ralph complained that council wasn't even testing for water quality. That responsibility actually lies with the Department of Environment, the provincial department, who are supposed to check all municipal water supplies on a quarterly basis, and the results are available from the department. The staff there are very knowledgeable, very helpful. I've known most of them, many of them, for 20 years. There was established years ago an agreement with Environment and Municipal Affairs after a study was completed to address replacing the existing water lines in the community first, prior to chlorinating and disinfecting. The rationale was, of course, that there was no point in chlorinating the water lines that were a hodgepodge collection of miles of small diameter polyethylene lines located in backyards across bogs, fields, leaking like a basket. The chlorine would just be leaking away into the ground, and there'd be no advantage. He complained somewhat that the wells were being unsuccessfully pursued in the community. The results were speculatively poor quality or poor yield, and I believe that this would have come from a provincial government recommendation that towns would probably have no choice but to go along with. Artesian wells are not always a viable solution in small communities due to extra costs of insulation, connection to existing water mains, ongoing maintenance and costs again, generator infrastructure to deal with power outages. Also, depending on how many wells you would need to service the whole community, you could end up with a half a dozen well systems that you need to build, operate and maintain. Costs increase exponentially in such a case. Mr. Ralph also complained that the council wasn't communicating with the people and he hadn't seen the mayor in so long, so he probably wouldn't recognise him. Now, I'm not sure why he'd feel that way, as he lives only a stone's throw away from the mayor, and I've always found the mayor to be accessible to meet any time was convenient, as we did on Friday. I've known and worked with the mayor of the town and the clerk for some 25 plus years. Always found them both to be very hard-working individuals dedicated to the best interests of the community of St. Bride's. In my previous life, let's put it that way, I dealt with some 60 to 65 communities from the bottom of the south coast to Postville, right up on the north coast in Labrador. And without exception, I always found them, the mayor, council and staff, to be cooperative, hard-working and totally dedicated to their town.
Dave, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just curious, what was your previous life? And in a role that would see you overseeing how many communities? Did you say 50, 60 communities?
We were involved with some 60 to 65 communities at any point in time. I worked for a civil engineer's office.
Civil engineer provincially, or I'm just
engineering consultants provincially.
Gotcha.
For 39 years.
Okay, so you have. I'm just trying to get a handle on the background that you have, because you have some pretty detailed knowledge about what's going on down there. So I was just wondering where that might come from. But sorry to interrupt. Continue.
No problem. I do have historical knowledge and experience with these people from nearly 40 years. Anyway, keep in mind when you're pursuing viable options for a water supply system, you must take into account what a town can afford to install and maintain. St. Bride's, like most communities, has a declining and aging population, probably with limited income, and can't afford the tax burden of a massive infrastructure program or project and costs of operations and maintenance afterward. Now, where Mr. Ralph noted he's paying some 500 plus in taxes in St. Bride's, a poll tax, a water tax, and his garbage pickup. So, okay, let's say a poll tax is $100 for argument's sake. Where I live, garbage pickup is $220 or $240. I'm not sure how much. So that leaves about $200 for domestic water a day, which includes fire protection, by the way, and that's something I also pay separately for. So he's paying about 55 cents a day. That's about a fifth of the cost of a can of Coke up at the Irving on the Trans-Canada. So Mr. Ralph seems to long for the domestic bliss that he misses from a lifetime in Toronto, where life was so good, and now he's home here, opining on how it should all be done in the town of St. Bride's. Now, one would think that the democratic thing to do would be to offer yourself for council, so you could input positive solutions and change for a betterment. Well, I understand that he did just that in a previous municipal election and was resoundingly rejected by the people in St. Bride's with a showing of 46 votes. So now on the eve of a new municipal election, he's taken to the airways and he's spouting misinformation and confusion to criticise and discredit the current mayor. And to me, that kind of smacks of American-style election tampering. Don't you think so?
No, I don't think so. I think we should be able to have critical thinking and critical minds about these things. Now, if what he said, and you don't, I just want to be clear, you don't work with the town or anything, and this is nothing. Okay.
I am...
Because it's quite
peacefully unemployed and retired.
Yeah, no, there's a decent spiel that you had prepared for the show today. So I'm, anyone who goes to the trouble to really detail and pick apart someone else's called open line, I'm always curious. So that's fair. That's fair what you're saying. It's fair what he's saying. Now, the point when it gets factually correct, and of course facts, well, once upon a time, used to be a pretty clear thing. But now you really have to weed through and get down to the bottom of where the truth lies, and it doesn't lie in social media. But in any event, David, I think
it doesn't. And
yep.
I can assure you, anything I've given you is more than accurate. And I was.
I'm not saying it's inaccurate.
Rather incensed at the time because the information was not accurate, and my intention was to call Friday morning, but your producer, I guess that's the guy who answered the phone, kind of felt I might end up being a bit long-winded. The show was just about over, and I had spent some time sitting on the parking lot of the Avalon Mall writing these few notes together. I can assure you, I can't always read my own writing.
Yeah, well, I'll join that boat. I'm in that boat.
I just wanted to throw those things out there in support of those people. Like I say, I've known the mayor and councillors, particularly the town clerk manager, very, very dedicated people, without a doubt. They are in such a similar situation as most communities find themselves these days. The populations are declining. It's getting more and more difficult to deal with government processes and protocols and everything else, and these people are just out there doing a very, very good job, and it's not right when they are criticized for things that are beyond their control.
Yeah, and I mean, beyond your control can be a pretty subjective thing sometimes. There are things that fall strictly in the municipal basket. There are things that fall strictly in provincial and federal. There's some crossover. So, unfortunately, not all the listeners can hear both sides of it in real time right now. David, can I ask you one other question, though, on the water? What are the water levels like? Are you there now? Or you do reside there. You're just not there today. Is that it?
No. I don't reside there at all. I spent nearly 40 years working in this business. I made some really, really good friends. And from time to time, I'll just pick up and go visit some old friends. They're in Point Lance, they're in Branch, they're in numerous communities all over the province. And I just did establish good working relationships and friendships over the years.
Fair enough.
I don't like to see people maligned when it's not entirely true.
No, fair enough. And again, it has to be an opinion at this point only until, the black and white of it can be shown. But some people might say, if you're not living in the community, it's hard to really, and I'm sure you have in-depth knowledge of it. But I can just hear, just being the devil's advocate, that people are probably listening and say, well, you don't actually live there. So even though you have great detailed knowledge and experience in the biz, people might suggest you have to live on the ground and deal with the council on a day-to-day basis to really be able to get down to the nitty-gritty of what's happening and what's not. I only asked the water level question because of the problems they've had in CBS and Torbay recently, and levels are down everywhere because of the dry summer we had and the risks of forest fires. I'm wondering to what extent that's contributing to any of the quality out there.
Well, I don't think it would have any contributing factor there at all. There was a water study written by our office some years ago, and it presented viable options for the town of St. Bride's in cooperation with the Department of Municipal Affairs and Department of Environment. And all parties at the time, there was a unanimous consensus on the approach to resolving these issues out there.
Sure.
You are never going to 100% clean up the water in St. Bride's. It comes from the boglands.
Oh, yeah.
All down over that area,
I'm pretty familiar with that area out there, yeah.
It's my understanding that they have indeed drilled some wells, but I believe all that was addressed in a previous study, even by Colin Karasek. And I don't know. I'm not a big fan of wells if you have an alternative solution, because they're expensive to do. They're chancy. You go out and drill a hole in the ground, you don't know what you're going to get.
No, absolutely. David, only because I'm
volume or any quality.
Only because I'm getting on past the break here. Do you want to just write a quick line to wrap her up, just so I can get going? And if Ralph is out there and he's listening, he's more than welcome to come back and possibly have another go at what you said. It's very much like a court case where you go back and forth and redirect and cross-examination. But absolutely, you're more than entitled to do that. And any of the candidates in the St. Bride's in the municipal election out there who might have an opinion on this, want to back you up, want to take Ralph's side. I'm sure they're out there, but...
Well, again, it's a matter of public record.
Yep.
There was indeed...
Sure.
A contract awarded to an engineering company to proceed with the upgrading, and it was to be done in 2 phases. I don't think that they had enough funding in the first, but the second phase couldn't even be called for proposals because the first phase, the scope wasn't even developed, the drawings weren't done. I don't know what the status is now. I don't know if it is ready to go to tender or not, but I know that the people in St. Bride's have been waiting an awful long time to have a decent water supply system.
Boy, get in line, eh?
Certainly not through lack of effort of the council, the mayor, and the town manager, I can assure one and all.
Got it. Loud and clear. David, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Anyone else want to weigh in on the same topic, they're more than welcome to do so. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Finest kind. Thank you very much. Maybe I'll call you again some morning.
Yes, I may even be here.
Finest kind.
Great. Thanks again, David. All right. Dave, sorry. David to Dave. Let's see, a little over the break. Back after the break. And welcome back to the program. Let's go right to line one. And Sid Wolanski, the chair of COD-NL, the Coalition of Persons with Disabilities. You're on the air.
Good morning. Happy Monday morning to you, Brian.
Right back at you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to do a little bit of administrative information right now for tonight's town hall. Just to put it into context, the Coalition of Persons with Disabilities, Newfoundland and Labrador, are holding a town hall for the community, the disability community, to come and voice their concerns, their ideas, and just to speak to the election. And it's a place where they can have their voice and be heard. There'll be Zoom links, there'll be Facebook Live. It'll be held at the Holiday Inn on Portugal Cove Road, and we have a facility set up so there are no barriers for anybody. We will have all sorts of audio, visual, and health aids there for anybody that has barriers from normal activities such as this. As well as we want to put out that if you're going to be coming on Zoom, there is a link for you to register. However, all they want is your name and your email. And then after that, with the email, we can send you out a link for the Zoom. One of the things that people have been asking me about is were there going to be politicians there? Politicians are all pretty busy these days, the candidates on Secretary. And the forum is there for people to listen and to understand what the community is going through. It's open to everybody.
Yeah, I guess the question, and you mentioned the three political leaders, so they were invited. Did you get confirmation from any of the three? Will they attend in some way, maybe not in person, but maybe virtually or anything like that? Do you have any confirmation?
Well, after our community has had a chance to speak, if there's time, we will let the candidates have a few words because they've already reached out to us. To answer your question more succinctly, we did have an idea to have a talk between all the leaders. But unfortunately, sometimes we have to plan months in advance, and we waited for the election to be called. So I would imagine they all had their itineraries full. So we understand that, so we changed pace a little bit, and now we're providing a voice for our community to come out and speak to all the candidates that are going out for election, just to let them know what they can are.
So the short answer, I guess, is just no or not. I guess this is more about people hearing the important issues that they need to in the run-up to the election as opposed to hearing the poly speak. Is that it?
Yes, and
rather than politicians dominating the microphones kind of thing.
Yes, we want people, it's a community education, a community able to come out and use their voice. It's a community that the voice has always been, shall we say, muted. So we want to give it a loud, upfront, in your face way of our community to come up and say, look, this is what we're going through. This is what we'd like to see. And, it's 31% of the population today. Well, actually, that's not true. It was 31% of the population in 2022 from StatsCan. We have another census coming up next year, and, it could be a lot more. I mean, impossible to say how much. But unfortunately, we are a community that gets new members every year through accidents, through other issues. And it's time that we stand up and let everybody know how we feel.
It's interesting you said muted. I would have to say that COD-NL is one of the, more boisterous, out there, in your face, advocating for everything, including the disabilities advocate, which is still not in place yet. But I think in early September there were some consultations with the minister, but of course that's all on hold now until afterwards. So, but they are working toward creating, they say, the disability advocate, but not there yet. But no, I mean, when you say muted, Cardinal, that's not the first organization that comes to mind for me.
And I say
great advocate.
I mean that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. We will get out there and speak, but sometimes the administration is not keen to hear what we have to say. Now, that's the poem. Let's give out the roses. We saw this year for the first time in, I would say, probably in our history, that two sides of the floor came together and all voted unanimously to pass a bill to create a disability advocate. The PTs got up and brought the motion, and the Liberals, every single one of them got up and said, yes, that's what we're going to do. We've met with different ministers. They've all said to us that, yes, this is something that we have to do. So there's a lot of discussion in the background on it, and, however, we haven't heard a word about it from, shall we say, the candidates that are on the road. We're hearing about the MOUs, we're hearing about water, we're hearing about all very valid issues. However, the one issue that they came at the beginning of the summer and everybody got really excited about has been, we haven't heard a word one from them.
Yeah.
So tonight,
yep. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, it's a kind of an example of what we've been talking about, the MOU. Of course, it could be, generationally changing agreement. It could be, and that's the thing. The key word is could, might, may, because nobody really knows between now and the expected signing of the final contracts next April, what the total agreement, especially us, the average Newfoundlander and Labradorian, doesn't know what it's made of. But it's high level, very complicated. No one really understands that. We're hoping that the powers that be are going to sign the best agreement that we can get. But ultimately, the cost of living and disabilities advocates and mental health and addictions, and these are the issues that people want to talk about, but they can't be fixed overnight. So politicians don't necessarily hang their hat on it because it can't. These are tougher issues. To grasp and to put out on an election where, you can say you have great ideas to do things, but, as you mentioned, it's kind of gone by the wayside with other larger issues. Government is more than happy to still debate the MOU because there's not a lot we can debate about it. We don't know enough about it.
Yeah, it's a very good point. It's a tough thing to follow. I don't know how I could really answer that without getting into too many politics at this.
No, it's true, and it's a tough thing to answer only because it's a ramp on a building that needs a ramp. It's very simple. A building needs a ramp. Or any accessibility. There's a lot of buildings, including court buildings that I go in every day that are still not accessible. So they may. Yep.
Let me interrupt you here. And yes, the reason why I'm being a little bit cagey on this particular thing is because the barriers in our province, in our environment, are so bad that at this point, if a person wants to become a politician and go into our house, our legislature, it's not accessible.
Yeah, the irony is not lost.
I mean, there's so many things to start with. If let's say a person with a disability is being called to sit on a jury, they can't do it if they have any physical barriers because it's not accessible in our courthouse. It trickles down from there, and it's interesting because all the churches in Newfoundland are pretty much accessible for the public. They get it. But the government so far has been for years struggling, and I'm hoping this year will be a diametric change in the way that they think, because our biggest problem out there is not all the physical and the talk. It's the attitudinal barriers that we face on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And again, yes, churches that, created for the less, to recognize those less in less of a good situation, shall we say? They were always there for the people on the ground, as opposed to, And I'm sure, very much so, that the government will say, and it's how important the MOU is to us because of the money that will flow from it immediately, and they will say, address these sorts of issues because they are money issues. Taking the Supreme Court building or the House of Assembly and trying to make it completely and utterly accessible is an expensive venture, period. And won't happen overnight. And as far as the building goes, I mean, it's just so, those buildings, some of the buildings are so old that it's really hard to do it. Some of the churches have been renovated easier, but as you point out, that money that flows, it's the double-edged sword. We don't want to rush into the MOU and make the same mistakes, but on the other hand, the government sees big dollar signs, and they see the signing of that can unlock hundreds of millions of dollars on the spot, and can go right on a deficit and go right on to issues of disabilities and accessibility and any other issue that, whether it's roads and taxes and better quality of living and better, cuts on taxes and breaks on this and breaks on that. It's just going to, the government's eyes, make us a wealthier, more stable province and be able to address some of these more pressing needs.
I agree with you 100%. Money will solve a lot of the problems. However, the basic problems will still be there.
Yep. The mindset.
The mindset, number one. But then there's the big three. Number one, as you mentioned, disability advocate, which is a very important start. And then you have the community organizations, which there are many, and they're falling by the wayside, which is unfortunate.
See, I'm well over break. I'll tell you what, I could put you on for a couple of minutes if you want to just hang on until after the break. I have lots of callers in the queue, but we can wrap up, unless you can wrap it up now in a few, or you want to put on hold.
I can wrap it up very quickly.
Okay, sure. Not to rush you through it, but yeah.
Okay. Tonight's an important night for our community. We want to hear your voice, and that's the most important thing. It's a place for your voice to be heard, and we want to hear from everybody, from the tip of Labrador right down to the Portugal Coast South and the South Shore.
Sounds great. 7 o'clock tonight, Holiday Inn. Tell me again, if people wanted to get online with it and do a Zoom or join that, can they go to your website, or what's the best course?
Go to our Facebook. Cardinal Facebook, and it has all the links and everything there. And people will be paying attention to that as well.
Perfect. And it starts 7 o'clock Island time at the Holiday Inn here in St. John's. Okay, Sid Wilansky, the chair of Cardinal, thanks so much for the call. Thanks for your patience. All right, Dave, off to the break. Welcome back to the program. Let's go right to line number 4, and Nikita Ryle, you are on the air.
Hi, good morning, Brian. I'm Nikita Ryle. I am a candidate for councillor at large in the upcoming city election.
Yes, you are.
I've been at the doors for a couple of weeks now, and a few of the issues I've been hearing from some people is they're worried about youth programming. So I do know that the city has funded a great funding packet called Building Safer Communities, and that they have agreed to extend that for a little bit longer. However, it is important that all levels of government continue to fund youth programming. And for people who aren't aware of what youth programming entails, it teaches youth life skills, helps them with education, helps them build their confidence, gives them transferable skills that can be used for finding jobs, such as resume building, interview skills, just helps them feel like they're supported. As you know, then that lowers the crime rate, takes the stress off the justice system and the healthcare system, and helps the youth become productive members of society. And as we know, the youth are our future, and we have an aging population, so they need to feel supported, so they want to stay here.
Absolutely. Youth programs, sign me up, for more of those. And of course, he's setting kids up in the right path with the right attitude, the right way to go about things, transitioning. But I mean, Nikita, where do the at-risk youth fall into this category for the city?
Well, there is some really great organizations out there that do provide support to at-risk youth, and they need to continue to be supported in order to be able to expand on their programs, or also just keep the programs that are going continuing, because unfortunately what happens is you get some great programs growing, and then bang, the funding is cut and the program is no longer available for the youth. That then causes issues as well, because youth have nowhere to go and they're not being supported like they once were. So then they, turn to other avenues.
Yeah, they certainly do. And, sadly, I cover the courts quite a bit, and it's not lost on me. Nikita, I'm just curious about your knowledge of, say, the programs that are out there, say, Choices for Youth and the other organizations that help with youth, that for one reason or another are kind of lost in their lives, whether it's a family broken issue or whatever it may be. And God knows we have enough issues with drug and addiction. But the partnerships that the city has with these organizations, can you shed any light on those and how they work now and how you'd like to see them work?
Yeah, so I do know that the city has, through its Building Safer Communities, partnered with a lot of the community centres in the low-income housing areas, which is very important because these people are right in the heart of the low-income areas, which sometimes are the places that have the most problems. But as you know, it's not just these areas anymore that are having issues. It's all over the city, including Southlands and the Gould. And that's been brought to my attention, knocking on doors as well, that they feel like some of their youth are being forgotten.
And it should not be lost on anyone. I mean, feel free to blow your own horn here. You've had some in-depth experience with all of this, from Tommy Sexton Center to, I think, Bridges of Hope.
Yes,
You've also had some involvement.
I volunteered at Bridges of Hope, and I currently oversee 3 of the neighbourhood centres in the low-income housing areas. So I see firsthand the benefits of these youth programs, and when they're cut, you also see the negative impacts that they have. So it's very important that these youth programs continue to keep going.
Yeah, the support of them, and few people would know better than you. I mean, it's so important to have that on-the-ground experience that you have as well. So, and it's not going to be not for the faint of heart. How many candidates are you're running for at large in St. John? So there's I'm trying to think now, how many is there? 5, 6, 7 people?
There's 12 running for at large, and there's 4 seats. But this is why it's important when people are casting their votes to really think about the candidates that are going to work together and that are in it for the whole community.
Absolutely, and my apologies. I'm trying to keep. It's hard to keep track sometimes with 2 elections going on, but
no worries.
Only 12 in the race. Well, Nikita Ryle, I wish nothing but the best. Certainly, the experience on the ground can't hurt. So good luck, and thanks for.
I'm ready to be that voice at the table. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you got enough on your plate, and you're throwing in for this one too. So good on you, and good luck.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You too. Dave, off to the news. Let's go take a break. And welcome back to the program. Let's go right to line 1. And Jennifer, you're on the air. Good morning, Jennifer.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
For a Monday. That's all I shall say at this point. No, it's a Monday, and I hesitate to say it's more as a holiday because it's a much more important day than a holiday, but it'll be good to take that break midweek and reflect on all the things that are important. But you're calling about some Chromebooks, maybe, I understand?
Yes. I have 3 children, and since these Chromebooks came out with the school board, I've had nothing but issues with them, and I've went to the school, and I know it's not the school's issue, but it's actually the school board. My son, I'm dealing with this now for months. My son is 14 years old, and he just entered a new school. He just entered high school, and he's had a Chromebook. And a few years back, they were giving them the Chromebooks, and what they were doing were giving them the Chromebooks. They were giving them the Chromebooks, and they weren't blocked.
Blocked as in... Jennifer, you still there? I think we lost Jennifer. Dave? Okay, I think Dave's going to work on that technical. I didn't hang up. I don't know what happened there. Where are we going? Let's go to Justin on line 5. Justin, you're on the air. We'll get back to Jennifer. Justin.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, my friend.
You're in the St. Bride's. Yeah, you were listening to the St. Bride's calls earlier about the water, were you?
I was, my friend. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. David, my friend. Not really sure where the gall came for that, but you don't live here. It's a little different, that's for sure.
I did ask him about that. I said, I'm sure he's knowledgeable about the area and about the systems and everything. And clearly, a civil engineer, and he has had some involvement with the city and their work with the town and in St. Bride's and the water supply there. But I do wonder. It's hard to, when you don't live in the community, to give firsthand experience. Do you live in St. Bride's?
Exactly, yeah, and I fully agree. And I'm sure he's a well-educated gentleman who, has probably worked well with our council and community for many years, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I do live here in St. Bride's. I'm originally from central Newfoundland. My partner and I were actually living out west, and the pandemic happened, and job loss and all that, and a friend of mine had bought a home in Branch, told me all about Cape Shore, fell in love with it, moved here sight unseen 5 years ago, fell in love with this place. Love it so much.
Yep.
So much so that we found a little gap here. We became ambulance attendants. We now work for the government with the ambulance here. We're also volunteer firefighters. We do everything we can for our communities here, not only in St. Bride's, but on the entire Cape Shore. Love it so much. One thing I'd like to ask David is, they say that what's under their control is that the biggest thing here is that there's no public meetings. There's no communication. And when there's no communication, it drives to hearsay and rumors and all of those things. And then you're left to question what's going on. And we were allotted almost $800,000 for a new upgrade to our water system here in St. Bride's, which we desperately need. Our water is brown. It is terrible. Even on the south side, sure, they get clearer water, but that is not clean, safe water to be drinking at all. And this is super important for our community, and we've been trying to make some headway. I mean, we only found out about the chlorination system on a whim. That was a luck thing that we even found out about. So then we started communicating with our MHAs, and through more and more talk with them, they ended up the government froze all of our funds for St. Bride's and made sure that everything was supposed to go through a correct order before anything was approved and any money was allotted. And now there's wells already drilled. And it's like, how did this happen? I don't quite understand. And there's been no communication, so it leads to more and more hearsay. And then when you see the locations of some of these sites, of these wells, it leads to more questions. And it's a little confusing. I just love more communication. It's hard. When you see the other communities on the shore who are striving, they're doing so good. Branch, amazing. Making waves. Point Lance as well. But we have to walk into our shop and we just see their posters for their days. We see Branch Days posters. We see Point Lance Days posters. We don't see St. Bride's Days posters. We don't have any of those things. We don't get the community events, sadly. Like some of them have happened over the years, but they're few and far between. And it's just tough to hear somebody come on open line and tell all of Newfoundland all these things about St. Bride's, and you don't live here. It's
all the information all the information that you want to know, but you can only get from someone who doesn't live there. I'll tell you, the only organization that really, or entity that benefits from a lack of communication is Open Line, because this is where you'll come, and every side will come on to try to. So I'm not complaining on a professional front, on a personal front, and a community front, and a public front. I don't get it. Communication, transparency. People love to throw those words around. But actually seeing them tangible in action, it boggles my mind sometimes how easy, some confusion and some issues could be settled if people would just come out and let people know what they're doing.
For sure.
And I don't know firsthand.
People are good people. I know our council people are great people. I know our mayor is also a good person. They've done tons for this community over the years. I'm sure they have. I know they have. But when there's no communication, it's hard. I mean, even when we moved here, we were a new young couple who moved to this community. First, probably young couple that's moved here from having no connection to this shore at all. The mayor didn't even come to meet us. His son actually sent us a letter to show support for him in the vote. The only time we've ever met the mayor is literally at the post office. Like, Ralph is not lying about that. You only see him at the post office. And I know Eugene's a good man, but I don't know. I just love to see a little more. But the thing is, we got a vote coming up. So people at St. Bride's, get out and vote. It's time for a change.
There's the message. I mean, it's not disparaging any candidate over another, the current, the incumbent, or whatever. But this is the time. Let's face it. You know, if people always talk about how do you get anything done. The only time, because you always have to remember, the first job of any politician is to get elected. And the second job is to get reelected. So, you know, they want the vote now if you're ever going to hold them to something or ever get them to commit to something or pledge to something. Now, I say that while every, man, woman, and child that's running, well, not children, but anyone who's running an election, has made some kind of promise over the past month, and particularly at the provincial level. And you know, all of those may or may not come to fruition, and there are other, aspects of trying to get things done in the House of Assembly that are completely different than in a municipal chamber.
Absolutely. I mean, these things are important, right? We want to settle down here. We want to put our roots in. We've been here 5 years. We want to have children. We want to live here forever. Clean water is highly important, you know? It's pretty important.
So, Justin,
anywho,
I'm just curious.
Vote, my friends.
From what David said, does any of that ring true? Is sort of like, you know, he went through some pretty detailed stuff. You're right there. And we were talking about, with David, I was talking about, you know, accurate information, and people are more than welcome to dispute it, but the facts are what count. Was there anything that was, in your opinion, not factually accurate?
With what David said?
From what, you know, he got into some pretty technical, specific issues.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky, right? Like, we do have two open pit wells, right? So, we have one that's up one hill, one up the other. They're both open. They both have feces. They both have animal bodies. There's everything in them. They're not covered. It's not. So that's why when we heard about the chlorination system, it's like the amount of effort to put into that. Like, if you just put chlorine on poop, it's still poop with chlorine on it. Like, I'm sorry, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to drink it or use it, or, I still have to go get water no matter what.
Still needs to be treated in some way.
You know, it's and our water levels are pretty good. We've got lots of rain recently. This is good, but, some of our, we're a little low, I'm sure, like everywhere, but it's been replenished, I'm sure. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. Mostly it was the fact of him stating, I know they do everything they can in their control, and I'm sure they do, but one of the biggest things they could do in their control is to have public meetings. Let us be able to sit in. Let us be able to hear what's going on. Let us be able to put some questions forward at the appropriate times when we can. Let us be a part of this. Let us be a community. Let us move forward,
Justin, have there been any opportunities to go one-on-one with the people who are seeking to get reelected or just get elected? Like, have there been any town meetings, any forums, any discussion of this?
No, my friend, there has not. No. That's the biggest thing with this water stuff is they were supposed to absolutely have a public meeting to inform us before any more Septs happen. They don't happen. I mean, they happen, but they don't let us know when they're happening, so we can't go and sit in on them. It's like...
Yeah, and it's not a metropolis.
To a party, you don't know when the day is.
And it's not a metropolis. It shouldn't be too hard to get the word out in a community like St. Bride's.
No, you wouldn't think, but...
Well, anyway, the vote's on Thursday, and there's nothing...
The vote is on Thursday.
It's not necessarily a time when municipal leaders go underground. They're usually out there in front of everything to put their best foot forward before an election. But, it remains to be seen. Maybe we can get the mayor himself to come on and just clarify what the situation is and talk about transparency and communication. I'm sure... we've got more than enough.
I'd love that.
Well, we got more than enough candidates lined up already, so anyone from St. Bride's more than welcome to give us a shout and clarify some of the issues that either David brought up, Ralph brought up last week, or you have brought up here today.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to give it just a different opinion. That's all.
Absolutely, and we can't.
Who's not really from here, but loves it. Yeah.
And I can't thank you enough just for actually someone who's actually living there to give me a shout on top of the other call we had. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you have a great day now. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. David, off the break. Let's go take a break, and we'll come back with, let's see. We got Kathleen Bird on line 6, and Jennifer's back on line. We'll reconnect with Jennifer, who was talking about Chromebooks, right after the break. Welcome back to the show. Brian Callahan in for Paddy Daly today. Let's go right to line 6, and Kathleen Bird, you're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Kathleen. You're the... I think we might have a technical issue with the line there. Darn it. Okay, gremlins get me too. Put Kathleen on hold. Is she still just on hold, Dave? What'll we do? We want me to go to... Or do you want to try to get her back? Yep. Okay, we're going to try to get Kathleen back on the line. And as well, we had some issues there with, but it wouldn't be a day here without some technical difficulties. No reflection on just it in every single way, whether it's web or other systems that we all know in the workplace cannot work when you really, really want them to. Kathleen Burt, are you back on with us?
Yes,
Got you back. Awesome. Thanks for calling. Thanks for the show. Welcome to the show, sorry. You're the NDP candidate for Carbonear Trinity Beta Vert.
That's correct. And last week when I was on with Patty, I told your listeners there were 3 reasons I was running. The first was for the people in my district who deserve a better deal from their government. And I talked about people needing better access to health care, workers needing more commitment to safety in the workplace, seniors and single people and families who are finding it difficult to make ends meet, and the people on the North Shore who need help to recover from the devastating wildfire in August. But then Patty had to go for a break, so he invited me to phone in again to finish my last 2 reasons that I was running.
Well, fire away. He's not here, but I'll pick him up where he left off.
Thank you. The next 2 reasons are more personal. The second reason is to honor my ancestors. My mother and her mother were always very engaged in politics. My grandmother would have loved to run for as a candidate, but didn't have the confidence. And my father, too, was always very engaged in municipal politics his whole life. So the third reason is because it's my gift. I do have the confidence to speak up for others. I do have the ability to see how our political and economic systems aren't really working for the poor, the elderly, young families, actually for the whole province, if you want to talk about it for that matter. I do have the motivation to tell my district that there's a way for them to get a better deal from their government. And if I may, Brian,
sure.
There are 2 things I'd like to tell people in my district. First, please help me to represent you by getting in touch with me through my candidate Facebook page, which is Kathleen Burt, NDP candidate for Carbonear Trinity Beta Vert, because I just got a hip replacement at the end of June, and I'm going, but it's slow going. So after spending the last 2 days canvassing in Bristol's Hope and Carbonear, I can tell you that there's no way I'm going to meet everybody at the door.
Well, it's one thing to try to get into this, into the election arena, able-bodied, let alone with a new hip. So do you mind if I ask how long you're on the waiting list? It's the first thing that I think of. I'm really sorry.
2.5 years, but I won't complain too much because I did say no once because of another health issue that came up.
Yeah, and that stuff happens, like when we talk about wait lists, there are extenuating circumstances for a lot of people that just the number and the months or even the years doesn't really tell the whole tale. But you, and you grew up, you're originally from Saskatchewan, which we won't hold against you, but you have a decorated and long career in education and standing up in front of classrooms and other people and talking and educating people. So why this point in your life did you think that, okay, I'm going to go for it?
Yeah, that is a good question. I am from Saskatchewan. I'm a farm girl, okay? Because a lot of people here, I find immediately if you tell them you're from away somewhere, they think of you as being a big city person. No, I am not. I've lived in rural areas all my life. And yeah, that's the second point I wanted to make is who am I and what's my credentials for representing my district. But I have been here for 21 years, so I've adopted this province as my own. And when we first moved here permanently in 2004, we were in Old Perlican. And we were in Old Perlican for about 6 years, I think, and then I got a job at the College of the North Atlantic in Bonavista, so we moved to Trinity Bay North on the Bonavista Peninsula, and we were there for about 6 or 7 years, and then we moved back this way a couple of years in Bay Roberts, and then we moved for the last 8 years we've been living in Heart's Content. So and I'm a bit long in the tooth, that's true.
And you're the grandmother of 10, I understand?
Yes, that's right. I am a grandmother of 10.
So no experience with children whatsoever. Yeah, you don't know what's best for them. No,
well, and that is actually, thank you for bringing that up, because that is actually the real reason that I'm running. My grandchildren deserve better. They absolutely do. And that's why I'm doing it more than anything, is for my grandchildren, my children and my grandchildren. They deserve better than they're getting and better than they're going to get with the usual suspects in power. So anyway, that's really the motivation for it. But I just wanted to give you a fun fact about Heart's Content, if I may.
Sure.
There are two NDP candidates running in this election from Heart's Content. Myself, obviously, and Greg Rockwood running in Cape St. Francis, who was raised in Heart's Content until his parents moved into town. So that was kind of interesting.
That's a good fun fact. And I just noticed at the end of your bio, too, there's just one line there: is what is good for our children is good for our society. And that works both ways. I mean, if we don't set our kids up for, with the right morals, the right goals, the common decency, just all the things that, in the run of a day, we wonder sometimes and scratch our head, what is that person thinking? It's all about, get them when they're young. I don't need to tell you as a former educator.
No, and you make a really good point there. And I think that's one of my overarching reasons is that our whole economic system right now and our political system is very very anti-child, right? It's really not teaching good morals, is it? I mean, we've normalized all kinds of very strange behavior. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that if a politician had any sniff of a scandal attached to his or her name, they immediately resigned. Now, we've got people, I mean, to the south of us, we've got a convicted criminal, right, as president. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, some would argue that
we as adults have got to we've got to stand up and be what am I saying here? We've got to be the example for our children, right? We can't behave in terrible ways and then expect our children to be good, right?
Yeah, I think you hit on something there. The bar of morality has definitely lowered somewhat with the advent, I believe, of social media. Things that were not said openly out in public before because they couldn't be shared around the world just weren't as it didn't go, as we said, viral back in the day. And now you can pontificate on the most extreme things, and anyone around the world, if they happen to be doom scrolling, they say, can pick it up and run with it in a heartbeat. And it's really scary.
Yeah, it is. It is very scary. But you know what? I live in a community where, by and large, yes, we have problems. There's people doing bad stuff out there, but by and large, they're good people out there. They have good morals. They have, they're just working hard and trying to keep their nose to the grindstone, look after their families, right? And quite a few of them are having a difficult time with it. So I think that's why our party is really focused this time on affordability, right? We're just trying to help people get through.
Absolutely. And, the NDP has always stood up for that. And some people will say, well, it's easy because they can make all the promises in the world and they may not have a realistic on and on and on it goes. But somebody has to stand up for that stuff and put it in front of everybody every day rather than, as you said, the usual same old, same old.
Well, I don't understand that, Brian. I really don't, because, if you look at the last Liberal government and the last PC government, they have been extremely fiscally irresponsible. So how the people can turn around and say to the NDP, oh, well, you don't have any experience. My answer to that is we can't possibly do any worse than what you've had for the last 20 years. And
this is not to disparage the current. Look, social programs, the governments are not socially bankrupt or inept. They're doing the good work that they have to spread across all of government. But, and some will say it's easy for the NDP to stand on the platform, but you have to get to wade through the noise.
Yeah, and we have, and that's why we've got a fully costed platform for 4 years.
Yes,
the
absolutely.
promises that we're making, we are we are showing people how it's going to be done.
Although I have to say, I heard Jim Din over the weekend and last week talking about, the surplus that'll be there and no loss of services and cutting services. I do want to see all the accounting on that one, even though I know it's costed. When people talk about we're not going to increase taxes, we are going to have a surplus, and we're not going to cut any services. That's great accounting if you can come up with it. Let me see. Just one more sec. Kathleen, I've got about 30 seconds left before I go to the break, if you wanted to wrap it up.
Well, I just want to talk about that. Now it's a matter of priorities, who you prioritize in your spending. And I don't think people need to be worried that we wouldn't follow through on our promises. Because when you change your priorities, for instance, if I golf, I'm going to have money for golfing, if that's what I like to do. And for the NDP, we like to look after people. So we're going to find the money to look after people. And we might have to cut some other things, but it won't be looking after people.
I want to say cut what kinds of things, but, well, that'll be for another day because I'm way over the break. Anyone sometime?
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
You're welcome. I won't corner you into that one only because you're lucked out. You're way over time. Kathleen, good luck in the election.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye now.
All right, Dave, let's take that break and back after the break. Welcome back to the program. Let's go right to line number 4. And Bob Tarrant, you're on the air.
Hello, Brian. How are you this morning?
Good, sir. How are you? You were at the North Rivers Heritage and Future Development Society?
Yes, and we are, of course, a non-for-profit organization. And
did you get your taxes? Did you ever get your tax exemption from the town?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Just I remember something about that. Somebody called me once and said really important.
Okay, no.
Yeah, there you go. Good stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, what we're up to, Brian, is I guess we're a heritage and arts organization. So, of course, in rural Newfoundland is difficult to get I guess quality performers to come to the area. So that's one of our responsibilities. And then the other one is heritage. Of course, in these days with all the cuts to everything in heritage funding, you can see with the Newfoundland Folk Festival and so on, it's certainly a challenge to make ends meet and do what you can to preserve the history and culture in Newfoundland. And right now we were actually given for $1 the old St. George's Church properties out here in North River.
Yeah, the Anglican Church, correct?
Yeah, and what we want to do is turn it into a regional arts and heritage center. But we also have, as part of that, we have a building that was a one-room school, actually, and we've converted that into a North River community center right now. But coming up this weekend, we have certainly our big event, which is the Stories and Songs Festival. And we were going to have this in the middle of August, of course, but with the wildfires certainly wasn't a great time to do that. So we had to change the date until October the 4th and 5th. So what we have planned is on Saturday night we have a Fish and Brews dinner and show with Kelly Russell, and Blind Drunk will be opening up for Kelly.
Nice.
And
great band name.
You like that, do you?
Blind Drunk, yeah, I like to know. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for band names.
Unfortunately, for anyone who wants to come to that event is sold out, and we were really, really, I guess, thankful to all the support we've gotten for that. Not only from the patrons coming along, but from the businesses in the area, they've been phenomenal. So what we've decided to do is on Sunday, we're going to be hosting a free event. It's completely free.
Nice.
It's a folk festival from 2 to 5, and we're going to have tea and cookies there for anyone who wants to come along, especially our seniors. I mean, lots of people who are on fixed income have a minimal amount of money. So since we've been so, I guess, generously given to by the business people and the community in general here, not just North River, but, the whole area. I mean, we got people coming from as far as Holyrood, and down to see the show. So we're going to give back to people on Sunday, so we're going to have a really enjoyable afternoon. We got some really great entertainment coming along. We got some local singers, and we got a group called Irish Archive, who are a 5-piece group, probably one of the best Irish groups in this area out here. We have Neil Conway, of course. He played in John's. Great singer, great entertainer. We have the Bennett brothers. We have a fantastic accordion player, Scott Volke. So we got a great afternoon lined up for anyone who wants to come along, and it's being held at the All Hallows Parish Hall in North River, because we sold so many tickets that we outgrew our space for that, which is not a bad complaint, I guess.
So you had to go rattle the Roman Catholic chains.
Yes, just for the orange and the green, I guess.
Would you have seen that happen 50 years ago?
No.
We can't. The Anglican Church is busy. We'll just borrow the Roman Catholic one for today.
Yeah, that's right. No, I got to say though, Brian, we have a great relationship with the group out here. We work well with the town and all the organizations, and we're trying to put some program in place for the seniors as well. And there are 3 seniors groups in this area. We had a meeting just recently with them. And as well as the parish, we work well together. So that's how you get ahead in life, basically.
Yeah, I mean, these days, as you just mentioned, you just got to work together. Communities just got to find a way to bring all the resources together, and there can't be any divisions of interests and that sort of thing. And, as sad as it has been to see many of the old churches around the province, for one reason or another, whether it's a lawsuit or just, unable to upkeep anymore, or lack of population, as sad as it has been to see that, as some churches go by the wayside, it's been equally a great idea, and nice to see them repurposed in this way. Whether it's, you look at Winterton, the church there, and Greg Wells and the crowd, and other places around the province who are looking at trying to acquire these facilities. Easier said than done for some than others, especially, if you can get the community to come together like North River. And I mean, I have a little bit of a connection to North River. We had a cabin out near Mackeston's growing up, and we were always down to All Hallows for church on a Saturday evening after a road trip to Carbonear. And speaking of road trips, that's a great idea. This Sunday coming, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're only 45 minutes from St. John, so we got people come from Holyrood and CBS and so on. So it is, it's great, and that's something that we plan to continue to do. This is our first. We're relatively a new organization, and this is our first big event. And we're just we're totally humbled by the fact that first event sold out.
Sold out, yeah.
That's a pretty good start, right?
Yeah. And then the next day,
hope that continues.
So you get a sellout and a free event. I'd say that is the awesome twosome.
Yeah, sounds good. Now, we had to scale back a bit where we were going. We had to switch it into the fall, right? When summertime, of course, there's a lot more people around. But the other part of what we're doing in this as well, it's a third component, which is giving back to our young people. So we're going to be having Kelly. We have a fiddle program going on at All Hallows here, and that's the regional school for the area. Yep. And we're going to have Kelly going in, working with that fiddle group. Of course, you wouldn't have a better person, probably the most renowned traditional fiddle player in Newfoundland.
You'd be hard pressed.
Storyteller.
Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to you'd be hard pressed to find a better feller than that. Kelly's got it all. He's a living legend. No question.
He is, most definitely. Yeah, we're certainly. I'm looking forward. Actually, I'm in the group Blind Drunk. I'm really looking forward to. We're going to finish up the show. Kelly's going to join us with a couple of numbers. So it's going to be a real thrill for me, for sure. As my dad was a traditional fiddle player as well, and we grew up. I guess, and Kelly and his group, I guess, revived traditional fiddle music in the late 70s and early 80s. And I spent about 10 years playing with my dad on folk festivals and so on. So I'm very familiar with fiddle music, and I grew up on it, right?
And the Planker Down Band and everything else.
You
say
right.
Did you say you're in the band? You're a member of the Blind Drunks?
I am. I guess the reason the band is called Blind Drunk is me, because I'm legally blind myself, right?
There's always a great story in a band name, and I had no idea. So I was about to ask you where the name came from, but
I'll tell you the little history on that.
Sure.
I've been playing music since I've been 14, and in bands, of course, I always had an issue with night blindness. I couldn't see. When I was on stage, it was fine. I had lights on stage. Everything was perfect, right? And then as you came off stage during break, some of the young fellows at the time, 17, 18, 19 years old, would say, "Man, you were some drunk last night. You must have been blind drunk." So,
there it is.
So anyway, I said, I'll file that away. That might come in handy one of these years, and it did.
It's perfect. There's a great story behind every band name, and I'm glad I asked. I'm glad you shared.
Thank you very much.
Great.
No problem.
Awesome. Well, good luck with everything. Sold out show. That should be a piece of work. Just knowing that it's sold out for the performers and as well as the people going, there's just an extra buzz and an extra little giddy up and
that's right.
Tingle
and
for that
just
one.
Just one more thing, if I could add, Brian,
yep.
we tagged on a craft show for that as well on Sunday afternoon, and as well any vendors who want to set up, we're going to have them free tables as well. So
nice.
It's going to be free all around.
Free. Geez, if they're not, anyone who's not going is missing out. One more time, the wheres and the whens, Bob.
Okay, it's this coming weekend, Saturday. The dinner will start at 7 p.m., and that's at All Hallows Parish Hall in North River, and Sunday from 2 to 5 at All Hallows Parish Hall in North River. And if anybody would like to contact me or one of our group about renting a table for free, you can just call 786-1417.
786-1417.
Yes.
Perfect. Good luck with it. Break lots of legs. And, anybody who's thinking about it, it's a great little drive. Like I said, it's only 40 minutes. And instead of going up to Bay Roberts, no offense to Bay Roberts, you just hang a left at the old railroad tracks over the bridge.
Exactly. You got it.
You got it,
Pontiac. All right. Thank you very much,
Bob,
Brian.
good luck with it all. Thanks for the call.
Okay. Goodbye.
Okay. All right, Dave, let's take that break. Sorry, a little bit over, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show for this Monday, September the 29th. Brian Callahan in for Paddy Daly today. Let's go right to line 5. And Greta, you are on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My husband and I had some bad luck. Our camper broke down and it needs a new transmission, so we're it's taking some time to get the right parts. And so we're looking for something that we can afford. At the time, we're kind of living out of our car, winging it, and we love all the scenery. We've been loving it, so that makes it better to make it through the day, because every corner we turn around, there's beauty, and people have been so kind.
Yeah,
we're looking for something affordable, or just a bed in the shower once in a while would be wonderful.
Yeah, you just said the beautiful scenery and the people. My experience, you've lucked out if you got a problem with a vehicle in Newfoundland and Labrador and you're on vacation and you're from away. So I have no doubt we're going to be able to help you out here. Greta, where are you from, first of all, if you don't mind me asking?
We are from Minnesota.
Okay, so you know what cold is like.
Oh, yes. I'm pretty tough. Raised a big family, and it's been a memory. Our kids are like, Mom, you guys are in your 60s and you're living like homeless people. I'm like, well, you know what? We can handle it. We'll find our way.
Well, not quite homeless people, but you're going to find some help here if you need it, and it sounds like you need it. So, what brings you here, if you don't mind me asking? Just a little background.
Well, 2 of my brothers and their wives all just retired. My brother just recovered from open heart surgery, and we've never been here. So I said, who wants to come with us? So we all started out in 3 separate vehicles, and so we've never been here. And one of my good friends said it was awesome place, awesome. So life is short. We lost a child almost 13 years ago, so ever since then we pretended we were retired, and we want to keep on moving and exploring the world, and we love Newfoundland. It's amazing.
Okay, so before everybody starts screaming at the radio, it's I have to get you on board. So it's Newfoundland, understand.
Oh,
the pronunciation.
I'm feeling guilty because I'm not saying I've been saying Newfoundland. And then people say Newfoundland, and I'm like, I'm finished. So I thought, okay, it's Finland, Newfoundland, because I've been trying to.
Oh my God! Don't go there. You'll never hear the end of that one.
So that's the gospel truth. I've been saying it right all along in my mind.
Newfoundland. Yeah. So if you say understand, it's always on the end. So, but as lovely, we are very lovely and friendly people. But boy, we get our backs up when you mispronounce our province, and it's just a thing.
Well, I learn something new every day, but people say, they've been saying Newfoundland, lots of them say, and I'm like, okay, is that the accent? Or, so then I'm trying to, be respectful and saying it how they're saying it. But, oh, gosh, I'm happy to learn that.
Yeah, no, I don't mean to beat that dead horse, but it is a little, it certainly is. For as long as I was born and bred and raised and lived here all my life, it's the one thing that'll always cause a stir. That and being called a part of the Maritimes, which we are not either, but that's another story. Let's get back to your immediate need, Greta. Where are you right now?
We're in Mount Pearl. Our camper's getting fixed.
So you do have so you do have it in a garage, and somebody is looking after it for you.
Yeah, we were thinking we could sleep in our camper, but they said we can't do that. So we rented a car. Yep, we've been touring and hiking and loving it, but that's kept our moods up, and we're seeing all these beautiful sights and nice people. That's kept our spirits up. And we're just trying to take the high road and be happy. Yeah, well, oh my God, don't we all? That's what we all strive for, I think, and especially in our golden years, and especially after a traumatic incident, and a traumatic moment in your lives, losing a child, like what did you say, about 13 years ago? Right. Wow. And I mean, look, it's the old keep moving forward, right? Did you say your brother is from here, or? No, two of my brothers and their wives, they all just retired. Two are nurses, and okay. Said, let's go there, because one of my good friends went here 10 years ago, and so it's been on our bucket list. That's what it was. Here we are. We're really making I'm going to have a good book to make, a picture book for the kids and grandkids when this is said and done. So you don't necessarily need a new transmission then. She's getting fixed as we speak, but are you in need of? Go ahead. We're getting the transmission. That's the problem. Our vehicle is older, so the parts aren't readily available. So we found a place in the States who pulled it from the junkyard, and then it's being rebuilt right now. And who knows how long it's going to take to get here. So we're like, okay, we try to live a day at a time, but in reality, sometimes we have to be smart and think like, okay, well, we don't know how long it's going to take. It's unknown. And have they, and God help us all, but have they given you an estimate on what it might cost? Oh, yeah. That's why on the credit card. If you don't want to say it, that's okay. They're not cheap. It's more than $5,000. So anyhow, you know, everybody has bumps in the roads, and no pun intended. Yeah. But yeah, it's they're not cheap, but whatever. We could be in the hospital with cancer, or I'm trying to just take the high road, I'm trying not to stress about the money thing. But we're trying to be economical in the meantime, so we're not staying at, hotels or nothing because we can't afford it. But yeah, we're just trying to take the high road and be thankful for today and sunshine and our health and all the kind people in the world. But it's a battle with the brain to be able to take that high road sometimes, Things can get really pressing on you, obligations, to-do lists, things you got to get done, money issues today. I've never seen it like it's been in my generation. Here now, it's just it's a constant, The answer to all your questions and concerns is money, and it's unfortunate. But when you have the mindset and the strength of mind to be able to just say, we are going to soldier through this. You're not on a timeline or anything, are you? So you can the expense is the main thing, right? Yeah, we were hoping to be back because we have two grandchildren due in October, so I was hoping to be there. But sometimes the baby is going to be born whether or not grandma's there, right? True. So, but that's just, we were hoping to get back for that. That was kind of our initial plan. But so I got in my brain, I'm like, okay, it's not going to happen probably. I don't know. Sometimes miracles happen. It might get fixed. I don't know. And your husband's right there with you, is he? Yep. He's my best friend. 42 years married. Well, I mean, I think we left out the most important part. Having a great partner by your side that you don't have to think about and you don't have to stress about and is there 50-50, 100% all the time. That alone can be. And by the same token, people who don't have that, some people are perfectly content, but it sounds like you got a pretty good partnership going. You're going to be able to weather this storm. Right. It's a test for things, It is, although you don't want to be at it this time. Each other up. We got to keep each other, two brains work better than one,
Well, Greta, I wish you nothing but the best in the short term. I hope it gets fixed as soon as possible, and I hope you can sort of get those kind of things out of the way and be able to enjoy a little bit more of the province before you head back south of the border.
Right. Yes, it's we'll for sure want to come back here, but yeah, it's just amazing. You know, we saw quite a bit. We've been here we toured. We went, you know, the other side of 3 weeks probably it's been.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot, but nice now. One blessing now is like we've been more taking our time. We've been going for hikes every day to keep our strong and our mental health strong.
Yep.
So.
Well, you know, I'm a firm believer in everything for a reason. So, you know, do your best to enjoy it while you can, as I'm sure, and it sounds like you are, and I'm sure you'll get past this and get that transmission fixed, and maybe you can spend a few more days before you have to head back south. But I wish you nothing but the best and safe travels.
Well, thank you so very much.
And thanks so much for calling the show.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, Dave, let's get back to a couple of minutes over the news. They're going to kill me. Right back after the news.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
And welcome back to the last hour for a Monday on Open Line today. Brian Callahan in for Paddy Daly. Let's go to line 2. And Marlene Butler, you're on the air.
Oh, good morning, Brian. How are you today, young man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for calling me a young man.
Brian, I'm calling today. I actually called in on Friday, and I was speaking to Patty.
Right.
And I understand he's off today.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do a little update on my situation. I am a candidate in the upcoming municipal election here in Bonavista.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that the town was interfering with the election by posting an old, outdated notice on their door with my name on it that was dated April 8th, 2024. So
right.
I challenged that notice in court.
Marlene, if you don't mind, if you don't mind, you always assume, you know, that people are probably listening for the first time and may not have heard you last week.
It may be.
What's just if you can, just to Cole's notes on the background on this notice that was posted?
So the background note, it's an old notice from April 8th, 2024, where my husband and I had attended a meeting at the town council back in March 11th of 2024, and we were given this prohibition on access to town hall because the town felt that we were harassing and bullying them. I was there asking questions. My husband was in attendance and didn't talk. I was asking questions about an MOU that was given to a not-for-profit that I volunteer for. And I challenged the town on that. And then I was given this prohibition on access to town hall.
Okay,
So
that's it would seem a bit of an extreme step to have to go.
It did.
Did it have to get was there any legal implication or anything that realm? Did it go that far, or was this just a decision of council? And what did you do when they made that decision?
Well, it's funny, Brian, you asked that because I'm not sure if it was a decision of council or not. The exact same day that was issued on April the 8th, 2024, Inclusion Canada NL reached out to the town to talk about a complaint I had filed with them about the town not giving myself and the organization I volunteer for equality or equity for not transferring a parcel of land to them they had promised to do. So really about my advocacy work.
So what was what was the organization? What was the organization in question that you were on behalf of?
Oh, it's Saltwater Community Association in Bonavista.
Okay. So yeah, it's hard to get all the background into this, but the important points that people should know. There's a bit of a history here, to say the least.
There's a bit of a history, and like I say, it's I was there at that meeting standing up for a not-for-profit and the dedicated work they do in the community to support people with exceptionalities, people struggling with food insecurity, and a lot of other issues in the community. I wanted an answer to whether or not they're going to transfer the title. They said that it was illegal, it wasn't illegal, the document they had signed. I questioned their authority on it, and the meeting came to an abrupt end. And then again, 3 weeks later, I was given this prohibition on access to the town office, my husband and I. And like I say, we're trying to challenge that. We didn't have any resolve, so I actually went to the Human Rights Commission, and I have an action against the Human Rights Commission for not listening to my complaint. They told me I could take them to the Supreme Court. I am not suing the town as per the rumors in our community. I've never wanted to sue the town. It's about getting justice. It's about fairness, transparency, and accountability, and making people step up and do the right thing.
So you say
here I am.
The Human Rights Commission determined that your complaint was not valid? Or
no, they didn't say that. They weren't willing to hear the complaint.
Well, it's probably hand in hand, would it not be? Or did they give you a formal wording of what they called it? Did they dismiss it? Did they just not hear it?
They denied it. They denied it. So they said that in order for them to hear the complaint, I would have to take them to the Supreme Court of Newfoundland and Labrador and have a judge make that decision. So that's before the courts now.
So is it an awkward thing to have that before the courts as you're running for council in Bonavista?
No, because I'm feel that I'm right. I did not bully and harass anyone. I have sworn affidavits stating that. So, some of the things that are coming up now as me as a candidate, there are people on social media saying, well, how can you run for council if you're barred and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I didn't do anything wrong, and I'm trying to prove I didn't do anything wrong. And so I asked the judge, the court on Friday, to issue an order to have that notice removed, and they did issue that order. And it came down on Friday afternoon late, and then I went to the RCMP and I asked the RCMP to enforce that order with the town. So that notice was taken down by Saturday morning, right?
So that was strictly the notice. That was that decision. Is there?
That's right.
And you're on.
Order.
But the your action continues though in the court, does it not?
With the action against the Human Rights Commission is still ongoing.
Okay.
That'll be heard next June, but I actually have a date of November 18th for what they call a short cause date. So we will talk about, I'd ask the court for whatever relief they deemed appropriate. So to address those requests, they've recommended that I go to the short cause date, and that'll be on November 18th. We'll have a chance to have a judge decide if that notice is going to be revoked and if the mayor is going to issue a public apology. That's all I've asked for.
Yeah, time's not really on your side as far as human rights and the courts go, because obviously the election's on Thursday, so that won't be rectified until then. But where does it? No. I'm trying to just get just for the listeners who really don't have the background on it, just briefly, what's the genesis of the conflict here? Is it strictly that one issue that you went to council about, or was there something brewing before that? There's always more than two stories.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Oh, it takes two to tango. I totally agree with you, and this is my side of the story.
Yeah.
And like I say, but I'm trying to get justice for me and as a candidate, so that people understand that I just want some fairness. How can people vote for me if 3 days before the advanced polling comes up that my name is on a door and people in our little community of 3,000 people are talking about it and saying, oh, what did she do? I mean, you feel almost like you're a criminal. I'm not a criminal. The RCMP never charged me with anything because they told me themselves that I did nothing criminal.
And now I was
there at a meeting talking.
And now the fact that the order has been made and they've had to remove the notice, it strikes me that, and I'm not going to try to make a case here, but I mean, if I were a candidate and that had been up there, for lack of a better word, besmirching my reputation during the election campaign, I might feel that I have been, infringed upon in some way, that, my reputation has been tarnished throughout the campaign, and especially the fact that the court has ruled that the notice does have to come down during the campaign. So there's a vindication there that, in the long run, if you're not successful, do you plan any kind of, sorry, not to take the glasses half full approach, but if you're not successful, do you plan any legal action after that as a result? Because it would strike me that, your reputation was besmirched one way or the other. In the sense that the court ordered the notice that had to be taken down. Did they say it was just had to be taken down because it's been there so long, or because it's not accurate?
Because during the election,
or not
it had
fair.
To come down. The order is going to stand until 12 p.m. on October the 2nd when the election is over, right?
Oh, okay. So it does surround the timelines of the election.
It does, yes.
But yet it's been
trying to recover. No, it was up one day.
Okay.
It was only up one day in April of 2024. And then it hasn't been up since then until 2 days prior to the advance polls.
Okay, that's a better timeline. I was trying to get to the bottom of it. Okay, so it's been up.
Yes, and that's okay.
So it was up from what date until this past Friday?
So it was up from the 22nd till the 27th.
Okay, and you've been a candidate in the election all that time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. These days lawyers are making more money than any of us on disputes such as...
I didn't get a lawyer, Brian. I self-represented myself, right? I had no time for a lawyer, and I'm not going to go to that expense.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking on your end. I'm thinking, municipalities and corporations are probably, they look at the fine print and they always want to stay out of that trouble,
Yes. But, here's the thing, too, Brian. I'm standing up for diversity, and I'm challenging the town to do the right thing. It's all about integrity. And, I really hope that the residents in Bonavista see that, and they understand that, how important justice is, and that I'm going to be a force to be reckoned with. So if that's what they want, if that's the change they want, then, hey, I'm here.
Marlene Butler, candidate in Bonavista Municipal. Will be interesting to see what happens on Thursday. We'll definitely want to follow up with you after the vote.
Thank you, young man.
Great.
You take care. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, Dave, I'm 3 minutes over. Sorry about that. Let's take that break. Go back to the show. Just wanted to say a big thanks to a few callers that we got. Some help there for Greta and her husband all the way up from Minnesota. We're having some transmission issues, and costly one at that. And people helping out with a place that they could possibly stay, while they're waiting for their vehicle to get fixed. Never fails. Knew that was going to happen. Didn't even have to shout it out. Calls were already coming in. So thanks. Big shout out to everybody who helped there. Let's go right to line one. And Ian, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
Morning, Ian. How are things?
Not bad, buddy. Not bad. Brian, I got to be very careful here on how I say a few things there, but I'd like to talk about the trucking industry. First of all, on Ireland and throughout Canada, and I'd also like to touch bases on the cost of living in Canada and on Ireland.
Well, there's a loaded topic there. Are you on the highway now?
Oh, I am so, sir. Yeah, I am so. I'm here in Montreal, actually.
I was going to ask you. So, are you in on the Boulevard Metropolitain, or are you just?
I'm going around the 30 right now, old friend, as we speak. So I'll bypass around the city now to head her into Ontario.
Oh, but I tell you, that tunnel under the St. Lawrence is something else at high speed, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is so, buddy. It is so.
freaks me out. But go ahead, Ian.
What I'd like to get at, when is the government going to open their eyes and realize that they destroyed this country? From the trucking to the cost of living, like I say, so they're bringing in all the foreigners. I'm not prejudiced, not by no means. God love them, good people, and they're here trying to better themselves. But it's getting to the point now, Brian, that it's taking food off of my table. Do you understand? It's taking work from us. It's just getting out of hand in all aspects of it.
I think
there's so much going at you.
Yeah, and you hate to tear the whole thing with one brush. I mean, you say they're here, the immigration policy people here to better themselves, but they're also bettering our community in a lot of ways. I mean, there are great,
absolutely.
The technology, the brain, and the skills that they bring other people from other countries. I mean, it's not just a free. We try not to purse it as a free for all because yes, the argument will go on forever and a day that what about us first? But it's a delicate balancing act. I'm sorry, Ian, go ahead.
It is, yeah, and like you just said, free for all, and more or less, that's more or less what the government is giving them. So I got my own truck, Brian. I paid $260,000 for this truck. I don't get no breaks from the government. I get zero. I'm paying the highest price for fuel, and here I am. I'm scraping by. Meanwhile, when someone else can come here from another country, they're giving them this break, they're giving them that break, they're giving them this break. And it's not only me that sees this, it's going on for the full industry. So go back, step back a few years ago, Fort McMurray. Up in Fort McMurray, a lot of gravel trucks, dump trucks. There was quite a few new Newfoundlanders up there that had their own trucks, and so on and so forth. So then the new Canadians, I'm going to say, the new Canadians got up, they come in, so they cut the rates. If the gravel truck was getting $100 an hour, when they come in, they cut them down to 60. So that Newfoundlander or that Ontario that owned that truck, well, guess what? He's pushed away now. He got to go find another career.
What was that rate based on again, just so I'm clear?
Like, I'd say, like, I just put that off top of my head, like, say, $100. I'm sure that was more than that, but, like, you for a dump truck, you'll get probably $150 an hour.
Okay.
For that truck. So now there's a lot of stuff that got to come out of that. Like, that sounds like a lot of money, but it's not. And it's the same thing here now with the trucking industry. Like, so for me to go from St. John's to Toronto, back to St. John's, it's costing me about $8,000 in fuel, the ferry, so on and so forth. Now, how can I take a load from Ontario to St. John's for $4,000? I can't. It's costing me money to get it home. But there's other carriers there that will take it for that price because they're very smart. I'm going to tell you, they're very smart people. They all groups together. They get fuel cheap. The government is giving out the big tax breaks, so on and so forth. But here I am from Newfoundland and trying to make a living, but yet I'm getting kicked and punched in every direction that you turns.
It's something that governments haven't really figured out. We know that there's value in immigration, and it's it happens around the world. We all came here some way, but they have to find that soft balance that says people who have already been established without being able to infringe upon what we already have to give others. And there is an extent where you have to get people set up when they first come. New Canadians, they're new arrivals. And for one reason or another, whether it's a student trying to get to a university or someone starting in a minimum wage job that a Newfoundlander probably doesn't want to work for, there's a problem right there with the minimum wage. It goes on and on and on, but there's no question that sentiment that, and we hear it all the time. And of course, the immediate pushback is you have to be so careful because nobody wants to be tainted as a racist or somebody who does not like immigration or doesn't. But we got out of it and ahead of it too fast. The government had to rein it in. They saw that there was an issue, that too much was coming too fast. The resources weren't there. The money wasn't there. And the money and the resources that was there, people are making the same argument that you're making, that some of that was taken away to give. Peter to Paul or whatever you want to call it. But, and then the pushback and the offense that people will take as long-time livers in Canada or livers in Newfoundland and Labrador paying their taxes, struggling right now to make ends meet, which we all are. And I don't think some of the policy in immigration and otherwise saw the crunch that came from post-pandemic, during pandemic, and the staffing issues, and the wages issues, and the cost of living issues, and the cost of everything. And all of a sudden, everybody is pinched. So any grand 10, 5-year plans you had for immigration or anything like that, a lot of the blueprint for that went out the window because now it's not as perfect as we thought it would be. We need immigration, but it's got to be at a certain pace so that it doesn't take away from people who've already worked their butts off to try to make a living and are still just scraping by right now. I agree. But, finding the happy medium, there's another term for it, but I'm having a Monday morning brain here today. I'm struggling with some of them. But I hear what you're saying, and you're not alone. There's no way, Ian. I mean, everybody has that sentiment. But it's good that in the back of the brain is like, no, I don't mean any disrespect, because there are certain people who don't even preface it that way. They just don't want people coming and they don't see the bigger picture. And there is advantages to both sides of it. We have to keep an open mind and we have to be open to it because immigration's not new. But arguably, the numbers were too high and they were cut back. And we got some of ours back. Newfoundland and Labrador got some of ours back.
Like another thing, so I look at, so we got senior citizens down on that island that them poor souls, they're either contemplating on buying groceries this week or they're going to pay their power bill this week.
Me too.
They worked all their lives for this country. They paid in their dues. They done it all. And here they are in this situation. I think that is absolutely wrong. It is ludicrous what's going on with the place.
It was a conglomeration of issues. Again, the pandemic certainly played a part. But we saw staffing, we saw supply chains, we saw everything go by the wayside. Just look at healthcare. So, there's a recovery there for governments, too, trying to figure out how to find their way through the current economic shamazel that we found ourselves in. And, people are just trying to, there's too much reactiveness and not enough proactiveness, in my opinion. Ian, I'm way past the break. Did you want to clue up with a couple of comments, or sorry to be a little bit rushed on you?
No, that's good, Brian. But that's good. No, I'm going to reach out again here now in the future there. But no, I just wanted to just speak my little 2 cents worth there of it all.
No problem. You're no relation to Fred Jorgensen, are you?
No.
You know who I'm talking about?
I believe so. I believe I do. Who is he?
Yeah, it's Fred with Darcy and oh my God, Dave, help me out. Darcy Broderick and and Arthur O'Brien and Fred Jorgensen and Navigators. Thank you. My God, I even played with him once. Yes, Freddie, but you got your dead ringer voice for Freddie Jorgensen. If he ever needs you to fill in, I'll get your number from you after from Dave.
Perfect, sir. Thank you very much, Brian.
Safe on the highways there now?
Okay, friend. You have a good day.
Yep, safe driving. Thanks. All right, Dave, sorry about that. Off to last couple of breaks before the end of the show on this Monday.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
Welcome back to Open Line and to the home stretch today. Brian Callahan in for Paddy Daly. Let's go right to line number 4. And Chelsea, you're on the air.
Hi, Brian. My name is Chelsea Lane. I'm one of the municipal candidates running in the city of Mount Pearl for re-election.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I just wanted to discuss informed voting today.
Sure. Go for it.
As everyone knows, the election's coming up now this Thursday. And what I've been seeing a lot on social media and also at the doors is people say, I'm only voting for the candidates that come to my door. And I guess what I would like to discuss about that is, there's 10,000 homes in Mount Pearl.
Yeah.
The reality is none of the candidates are going to get to every single home. And it's so important when you're voting to make an informed decision and get to know the candidates and base your vote off of that.
Yeah, no, that's the perfect world, Joe. That is all what we hope for. You're hearing that at every, so percentage of doors. I'm sure you're out knocking on them all, like father, like daughter. But do you get a sense of that's just the truth, or that they want to move away from the door, or what are the percentages? Is everybody saying it to you?
I would say I've heard it quite a bit, and especially on social media. You see people posting, especially in local groups, that if the candidates don't come to my door, then they're not getting my vote. And while I understand, it's great to be able to meet the candidates in person, I guess it's just important when you're making a decision to look at what every candidate has to offer and vote based on who you feel represents you and that who you think is going to make the best member of city council.
Yeah, Chelsea, look, that makes eminent sense. Let's face it, for logistical wise or for other reasons, no candidate is going to make it to every door, and it shouldn't be held against you. There are many other, ways to inform yourself than hoping or waiting for someone to knock on your door. And there are a lot of people who don't want to knock on the door and won't answer that door. And I've, to be closed-minded enough to say that unless I hear it from that candidate, unless they come to me at the door, there's an obligation on the voter to get informed, as you said. And so waiting for someone to knock, you might be waiting a long time.
Absolutely. And the reality is, if I knock on the doors on the street, I'm probably getting maybe 50% answer because they're not home or they're not answering for various reasons, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But there's many ways to get informed. There's flyers. You can reach out to the candidates in person or on the city website. And, everyone has a lot to offer. And I just think it's so important when you're selecting a candidate to select someone who you think can get the job done and not just vote based on who actually knocks on your door.
Yeah, and, I see some teaming up, too, in Mount Pearl now with the postal strike on the go, with people using resources, pooling resources, if you will. Has the Canada Post situation affected you much?
Absolutely. Because for me, I'm not retired yet. I'm still working. I'm teaching, and I have 3 kids. So for me, I guess I'm limited on how much I can get to the doors. And so I've been relying a lot on my flyers. And unfortunately, just a few days ago, I learned that half of my flyers did not get delivered at all. and they're being held at a Canada Post facility, and they will not release them to me. So that means half of Mount Pearl is not going to even receive my flyers.
Now, I did see something in our news today, and I'm always trying to do this as we go. Something, the employees of Canada Post have offered maybe that they are willing to at least come back to work and help just for the election. Now, I don't know. I saw that somewhere, and I plead a bit of ignorance because I saw it as I was reading through and just glancing at it. But there seems to be an effort there that maybe they're going to try to do that. But in the short term, there's no solution. It's not going to be a quick fix, and the election's on Thursday. So whatever could be done between now and then. I thought we were all past this mail-in ballot schmozzle, but apparently not.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I'm seeing as well, because there's a lot of people that were relying on their mail-in ballots because they're going to be out of province for various
Absolutely.
reasons.
Yeah.
And now that means that they're not even getting the chance to vote.
Yeah. Chelsea, what? Just before we wrap up, what else would you like to throw out there today? And there's no question the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Thank you very much, Brian. It's my first time calling into Open Line, but it won't be the last time that you hear from me. But definitely just remind people that the election's coming up on Thursday, and if anyone has questions for any of the candidates, they all have Facebook pages. They're all on social media. They can be reached by phone or email, and definitely take the chance to reach out and get to know them before you vote.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of shared obligation here, right? I mean, candidates do their best. Obviously, they're the ones working hard to get elected. And they're not going to get to everybody. It's not realistic to think that with all the homes. So absolutely, do your diligence and make an effort. I mean, it doesn't take a lot. It's one time out of every few years that you just have to make an effort. And, you can cast a vote for everybody, but all you need to do is just read a little bit up and try to just do your own obligation as a voter, and, everything will work out perfect.
Absolutely.
We hope. Oh my God, I can't even imagine an election day with the ballot situation here in the province, both municipally and provincially. Chelsea, good luck. Wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Take a quick break, Dave, and then into the home stretch. All right. Thank you, Chelsea. And, of course, that's Paul Lane's daughter, Chelsea Lane. No harm in mentioning that. Not that people don't already know. Right back after the break. And into the literal home stretch now. Let's just not waste any time with this. Let's go right to Tony on line one. Tony, you're on the air.
How are you this morning?
Grand. How are you?
Oh, good, thanks. Just calling me the healthcare now.
Yes, sir.
And I just that's better. Yes, I just calling about healthcare, and I hear what all the leaders are promising. But I mean, we've got our healthcare is a mess. It went from good to poor and pretty fast. I mean, you got nurses in there who can't get full-time jobs. We've got lost doctors because some were never offered a job. And we got respiratory therapists who graduated and never offered. I could go on and on about this. And I mean, it's got to the point now where we're going right back to say 15 years ago, when last time the same thing was. Well, they say 2003, 2003. Yeah, about 20 years ago. You got this Liberal government in there promising everything now, but they were there, the same people that was there, that caused this problem. The healthcare and basically everything, fishery, education. But I mean, healthcare. There's 1,000 people now waiting to get colonoscopies out around Bonavista, Carolina, and that way. I mean, there's absolutely nothing done there. They destroyed all the healthcare they could do. We went from last time Liberal Linda went from 2.5 to 3 years for knee surgery and hip surgery, 4 for heart surgery, and when they got in, when their Conservative Party or the PCs got in, I'm just telling it as it is, that they brought it right down. They hired 168 people, doctors and specialists, you turn around and we brought it right down then to basically an average. You go in, you didn't have to wait for hip surgery or knee surgery or anything else. And then you got right back now to where we were too back then. I mean, it's just unacceptable. I mean, people haven't got to think. I mean, right now where we're too compared to what we were. Our hospitals are a mess. According to our graduating the nurses, they were offered full-time jobs. I mean, right now, same thing with like I said, the rest of the trades. And on top of that, we have a $20 billion debt now, where we only had 7.3 billion when every year, and we had all kinds of work. Half the businesses are shut down, and they're continuing to do so because of the high taxes. When the Liberals got in, they put up 300 tax and fees on people. Now you remember, I guess, when we even had to pay a fee for a stay and live in Newfoundland. So I mean, and in Labrador, this is how bad it was. And now we're, and then when they brought it out, when the PCs brought it up where you could live and everybody working, and that's why we had such a lower debt, because people were working. And now they're right back to where we're to now again. I mean, right back to death, and half the business, like I said, closed down, and so we need a big change.
I'm not sure.
Somebody keeps hurt, right?
Yeah, just say half the business is closed down. It's that kind of, what word am I looking for? Just that kind of commentary that half the businesses closed down. Tony, half the businesses in this province are not closed down. That's a fact. You just said they are, but they're not. Businesses are having business. Yeah, okay. So now you're talking Water Street, but businesses in general are having a hard time. Most of them have learned that they have to pivot. You started off by talking about 15 years ago. That was before COVID, Tony. So. If any, COVID can be the almighty excuse for everybody who, doesn't have any better excuse. But COVID changed everything. So when you say 15 years ago that nothing's changed since, a lot has changed since, and everything changed as far as the cost of living. When we came out of COVID, nobody wanted to work. Nobody had the capacity to work. People didn't have the mental capacity to work. People were sick. People were dealing with school issues with their kids. People, it's just off the charts. The vaccination situation, dare I even use that word? But let's just be clear that, the whole idea, and look, a lot of what you say can be valid. I sat through the NLHS AGM last week, and, I do feel for Pat Parfrey and Bob Andrews and the people over at NLHS and all the staff, because if you actually go through their, the strategic plan and what's happened since the NL Health Accord was announced 3 years ago, they have made strides, Tony, and I'm not going to get here and detail it all. But the fact, you said it's all there, it's all fact. It is all there and it's all fact. And I encourage you to look at the update that they provided last week. Not just to discount, just let me finish, not to discount everything you're saying, but just be the other side of it. Let's remember, anyone who tries to tie everything that's going on in our society right now, including healthcare, to one type of government, one color, it's just not realistic. It's not reality. Governments change hands. They have several times since 2000. Everybody has contributed to our debt, not one person, not the least of which was Muskrat Falls. So let's just always, if we're going to throw everything on the table, that needs to be there as well. Then you throw in COVID, and now you throw in the cost of living, which is really showing, right? The fallout from COVID is really showing now because people have been struggling ever since. And the cost still goes up. And nothing has, and people are finding it hard to recover. Sorry, go ahead.
But COVID had nothing to do with when the doctors were waiting from the time the government got in there. They were on 2017, 2018. You had the doctors on there, you had psychiatrists on there, you had psychologists on there. They were treated like crap. They were 4 years waiting to get a contract signed, and then they turned around and said, you either take it or not. So they had no other choice. They had to take it. And this is all went on in 2016. They put taxes up, 300 tax and fees. So people always then started to hurt. By the time COVID come around, you had a lot of business closed down because they couldn't afford it because of the tax and fees they put on. And then when you went in on COVID, well, that didn't have nothing to do with Garda hiring nurses or doctors.
Oh, my God. It had everything to do with staffing and nurses. I mean, there was just, it depleted the staff resources. Depleted.
Even now, we have nurses out there, nurses that hit over the nurses union, fighting for years now and trying to get.
With every government from time immemorial.
But the point of the matter is, back then, we hired all the nurses that was coming out of the classrooms. Now they're not. Now they're putting them a part-time, full-time job. We don't have to pay benefits. And when you talk about wasting money, I mean, you got a Waterford Hospital in there, who was given the contract that was $40 million over, and then they cut 40 beds in the hospital that was done up, and they still never cut the fees. Or the $83 million for an old Costco warehouse. Leased it for 20 years, and the reason you lease it now, the government will have to pay all the money out, about another $40 million. So this is where the money wasting, or the 811, it's the same thing. So over 75% of the people that cause there, they're sent to emergency, which is cost double the money. So I mean, there's the money and the guard. I mean, right now surgery, like I said, the surgeries went from 2.5 from basically nothing when PCs got in and brought down to where it was. Basically, healthcare was nurses, like I said, didn't have to wait. Was no overtime like it is now. Nurses are forced to work, and I mean. Me and you talked about the fishery. The fishermen had to come in here and fight for themselves, and the government tried to take a place. They treat them like crap, and then afterwards, they're trying to take credit for what the fishermen done. So I mean, it's our whole island, and when it comes back to healthcare, it's the same thing. And the same thing with our education. And when they got in, they laid off 244 teachers and brought in full-time. And full-time kindergarten. So I mean,
I was just going to say, and keeping in mind that none of these issues are exclusive to Newfoundland and Labrador. Let me just ask you really briefly, and I had a call there earlier. I was kind of hoping just to hear what he might have to say. What is the strategy? What should the provincial Conservative Party, PC Party, what should be the line on the MOU? Are you all in or all out?
On the MOU, Church of All deal?
Yes.
No, I don't agree. Like, to me, we should see more of it. When I watched the House when it was open debating that, and every time the Liberals were asked a question, they had to huddle like a football team. Like, they had to huddle and
what's that got to do with anything, really? I mean, that's got nothing to do with anything.
But you got to explain what it's all about in order to know what it is.
Agreed.
And to me, right now, so I think what they should do is come out more and wait, and don't try to rush it through. Just take the time that people see it. Like, you like to see it, I like to see it. Everybody would like to know what it is.
Do you think a referendum makes sense on a document that even the average engineer would have trouble getting through?
No, well, I mean, people got to have a right. They got to have a right, because right now it's all taken away.
Well, a right to what?
People got a right for just letting everybody know how they feel about it. And like, to me, the MOU, if it takes a referendum, that's fine. Then they go for it.
I'm just wondering though, what difference does it make how people feel? It really comes down to the fine print, the letter of the law, and at what point don't we trust? I mean, at some point we're going to have to trust somebody. And I'm not going to take a position on whether it's rushed or not. Everyone agrees it's an aggressive quote unquote timeline. But I'm right up to the clock. Tony, I'll give you the last minute.
Okay, I just want to go back to healthcare for a minute. We had, when the Conservatives in last time, we had clinics and hospitals all over the island, like Whitburn, Clarenville, you had no waiting at all. You want to go get a quick basic x-ray, or you see the hospital, you can go to Bay Roberts. And then they closed down the clinic at the hospital in Whitburn. They closed down the clinic in Bonavesta up on Burin Peninsula. We lost doctors and everything else, and places we couldn't get doctors. We had nurses, and they took them out of it. So right now, they're saying, well, this is people in rural areas don't expect the service of everybody else, because they don't do it. But they need a hospital to go to. They need a place to go to. So that way, when you got stuff like that, it'll take the burden off the big hospitals like in here, because without it, we don't have anything. And right now, just got half the island shut down because there's no hospitals or clinics. And when the hospitals are, they got no doctors to go in them. So this is where you need somebody. And to me, Tony Wakeman from Now Snap Clinics, and that's what we need. We need hospitals, and we need people that hire and run for that. I think Tony right now and the PCs are offering a great thing forward.
Gotcha. I do encourage you, though, and the public, have a quick look at the NLHS strategic plan, the update last week, which shows the actual numbers on waitlist declining for cancer care and hip and knee, as well as, believe it or not, family doctors, and more recruitment going on of nurses around the world. Tony, thanks a lot. You've had the last call for the day.
And knee surgery, I just knew a couple of people
Tony,
who
had
to wait 3 years.
Gotta go.
All right,
thanks a lot for the call.
Bye.
All right, great show today, everyone. Sorry, Dave, a little over. No show tomorrow for the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. We're back on Wednesday. Drive safely. Arrive alive. VOCM cares.